All right, we live, back like we never left, baby. And yes, if you're with us, the rumors are true. The one, the only Stef is joining us for the Friday live stream. And let me tell you, Stef is in a mood right now, so this is going to be fun. We got some takes coming at you. Big Pun, what's good? Jack Warner, what up? Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll give it a second here. Let some viewers roll in. But while we're waiting, Stef, I got to get some takes from you on this Carolina-Houston game last night. A lot of news out of this game, obviously, with the McCaffrey injury. And for such a gross game, I think we actually do have a lot to talk about, both on the Panther side of the ball and for Houston, with Brandin Cooks being one of those highlights. But, Stef, what's your big takeaway or two from the game on Thursday?
Had Cooks. Plugged him in. He is QB proof, man.
It
doesn't matter if it's
unreal.
Davis Mills. It doesn't matter if it's
throw Kendall Hinton back there and let's see what we got.
I mean, he has had the luxury of having a lot of stud QBs as well.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing in Houston right now, Brandin Cooks, whether there's Jared Goff's probably the next worst QB he's had. Cooks just keeps producing. You got to get Chuba Hubbard. He's probably out there right now available in a lot of leagues, and you can just add him to your roster and drop somebody. If you have to put a waiver bid on him, I'm looking at 25% if I need a running back, because he has some great matchups coming up in the next week. His next game is against Dallas. He's going to have Minnesota 2 weeks from now. So I like the matchups for Chuba. What we saw when Chuba Hubbard was in the game for McCaffrey is they were using Chuba literally the exact same way. He was getting even targeted with like checkdowns on the goal line, exactly what we see from McCaffrey all the time. So I love the opportunity for Chuba. We talked about him a lot as a prospect coming into the year. He's explosive. He's definitely not going to be Christian McCaffrey. He's probably not even going to be Mike Davis, but he's a guy that can probably get you in the 10 to 15 point range.
If he can be 60% of CMC, you're happy with the startable running back. And I think that's the floor, honestly, with the touches he'll get. Royce Freeman might be involved. Not quite as interested in him, but like he might be worth the stash as well, just to see how things shake out. But Chuba is definitely the priority. And I see some questions rolling in. We'll start hitting these. But one last thing I want to hit on the Houston side of the ball, you mentioned Cooks. Like Houston had 193 total yards in this game. Cooks had 9 for 112, and he had 5 rushing yards as well. So he is this offense. And it doesn't matter who's at quarterback. He is entering must-start territory for me every single week. He's absolute funneled volume. He is the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4 in this offense. So wheels up for Cooks.
Prior to last night, and I need a spot check, I would assume just based on how that game went, Brandin Cooks is seeing a 50% target share.
He's going to go over 1,000 yards again this season if he doesn't get hurt. No doubt about it. But let's hit on some questions, Steph. I'll throw them on the screen for us. BX Superman. He's been hanging out with us on these live streams.
Let's go,
He's
Superman.
Been hanging out. Standard flex, Edmonds or Marvin Jones. I'm going Marvin Jones here in a matchup against the Cardinals. I think there's going to be a lot of pass volume in this game. I think he has a better shot of getting in the end zone as well. So that's my pick. Steph, what do you say?
I really like this game. Honestly, it's one of the more fun games on the slate. I'm putting Marvin Jones. To me, he is the one. I don't have the target shares pulled up in front of me right now, but when you look at the numbers that they're putting up, Marvin Jones is bringing in the ball more just from a catch rate perspective than DJ Chark. I think their targets are about the same. LaVisca being like the third guy in that pecking order. Unfortunately, maybe he can get there, Alex. We have a lot of shares. We'll see what happens, but I think I'm with you on Marvin Jones.
Let's hit on one from Jack. Jack's been one of the OGs with us in these live streams as well. If Dalvin Cook is out, does he start Madison or Melvin Gordon in full PPR? To me,
Gordon,
Gordon I'm going Madison there. If it's me, I'm going Madison. Gordon has a great matchup against the Jets. Oh, man, but I feel like every time Alexander Madison gets the opportunity with Cook out, he always lets you down. But that's probably how I would go, just because for Denver, I love the matchup, but Gordon's still going to be splitting with Javonte. So I think one of them could have a really good game, but it might be Javonte, it might be Melvin. I'll probably go Madison and chase the upside there if Cook's not playing.
Me too. Higher over-under in Seattle and Minnesota. That's probably the biggest high-flying matchup outside of Bucks-Rams. But I could see that honestly being a defensive game. Packers, 49ers, I think will be pretty high-flying, but both of those teams have some defensive pieces that I think will be able to make an impact. So I think Seahawks Vikings. I'm smashing the over on that game. The Vikings have been in shootouts pretty much every week so far, and so for that reason, I'm also going to throw in Madison against the Seahawks.
All right, we'll jump around a little here because Bailey Sylvester with Neo from the Matrix as his profile picture. We had some good Matrix dialogue last week. We had some good beer takes and beer questions from Bailey. So Steph is quite a beer guy. So Bailey, if you've got more beer takes, we're gonna have to get him in the chat because we need Steph's take on all that stuff. Unruly Drip, what up? Question from Matt, a Discord OG. Also, if you're hanging out and you're not in that Discord, it's in the link below. Free to join. If you like these live streams, if you like asking start-sit questions, asking about trades, like Steph and I are hanging out in there all the time. The community in there is absolutely amazing, super fun, and we're just talking fantasy 24/7. So from Matt, Swift versus the Ravens with the lingering groin injury, or Gaskin versus the Raiders, or Javonte versus the Jets. I'll say I'm not worried about Swift's injury. It seems like that's kind of his tempo at this point, is be limited during the week, make sure he gets rest, and he's pretty much a full go on game day. I'm going with Swift here. I just am going to go with the talent and go with the pass volume. But Steph, I'm interested to hear your take on this one.
Yeah, it's Swift easily for me, especially if the Ravens go up early in this game. Like, yeah, the Ravens have a lot of guys in IR. They're missing their key running back personnel, but at the end of the day, they're still putting up points. They just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Expect more of the same of what you saw from Monday Night Football against the Packers. That Ravens defense, I think, is actually declining a little bit, just because they've lost some pieces now, even more injuries on the defensive side of the ball for Baltimore. So they're not as scary as a matchup as they used to be maybe the last 2 years. So easily the answer is Swift. The other guys are in the backfields too.
We'll roll through some of these. We got a lot of questions rolling in. We got to stay caught up. Uzi, what's good? Yeah, back like we never left. The boys are back.
Uzi.
From BX Superman, Claypool, Marvin Jones, or Josh Jacobs. Jacobs, I don't know if he's going to play, and if he does, it's touchdown or bust. So for me, I'm probably going Claypool here. I don't think Deontay is going to be active, and Claypool does give you the big play upside. So that's my pick. I think Jones is solid as well. But it's between those two for me. I'm fading Jacobs this week.
I'm 100% going Marvin Jones here. Especially, I don't think Big Ben is going to play, or if he is, he's not going to be 100%. Good call. Good call. Now, granted, Deontay Johnson is out for this week, or I don't know if that's been confirmed yet. They haven't announced all the inactives at the time of this recording or this live stream here. I'm going Marvin Jones because I think it'll be a lot of garbage time. Marvin Jones.
I'm with you, actually. You convinced me. Over under in that game right now, 51.5. Trevor could throw it 50 times in this game, even if he's not good. Jones could see 10 targets and score a touchdown. I'm with you.
Marvin Jones had 18.7 fantasy points week 1, 17 in week 2 against Denver. He's producing right now.
Absolutely. So with T. Higgins being doubtful, kind of breaking news today. He's been out of practice all week. It doesn't look like he's going to play. Our boy Big Pun, another OG from the channel, asks about some receivers. Rondale Moore, Michael Pittman, Devontae Parker. Needs a wide receiver too. This one's super easy for me. It's super easy for me. It's Rondale. Even if D-Hop plays, it's Rondale. In our deep league, Steph and I's home league, I'm starting him this week in my flex, and I felt good about it with Hopkins active. If Hopkins misses this game, though, it could be another explosion from Moore against a weak Jacksonville defense. So pretty easy for me. Pittman, Wentz is going to be likely out, or Gimpy, and Devontae Parker with Fuller back. I just don't know about that.
Hey, and another nice thing about the Cardinals is, like, even if they get up big against Jacksonville and they need to burn out the clock, James Conner isn't going to be able to keep them on the field. I just don't see this being like a gross, nasty game script. But go ahead, let's go to the next one.
It's going to be fun.
Rapid fire, baby.
We have to. They're rolling in. Another one from Jack. Does he trade Lockett and Harris for Ridley if his bench sucks due to injuries and Ayuk? I would rather. I mean, Lockett and Ridley to me are near the same tier at this point. I'd prefer Ridley, but Lockett's came out absolutely on fire. So I'm taking the Lockett Najee side for sure.
Even if it's Damian Harris too, it's still Lockett.
Oh, it could be Damian Harris. You're right. Yeah, it could be Damian. Yeah, I'll take the Lockett Harris side. Unruly Drip. We got J.R. Smith in the profile picture. Respects. He had CMC. Okay.
Penny.
CMC right now, it looks like he's going to be out a couple weeks. So don't panic. Don't trade him. Don't do anything crazy. Like, he'll be back in about week 6 or 7 when he's back to being CMC. You're going to wish you hadn't panicked. But down at running back, totally. Joe Mixon, Darrell Henderson, Tyson Williams. Doubt he'll get Chuba from waivers. You can try. I think you're all right. I think Mixon, even if Henderson's out this week, Tyson has a great matchup. You can kind of bridge the gap there. And Henderson's been fine. So I think you go for Chuba. And if you don't get him, I think you're all right. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe load up on the back of your bench a little bit. There's like some flyer names in a lot of leagues that are already on rosters, but you can try to go get, I don't know, if you're like really desperate, like a Ty Johnson, maybe even one of like the Trey Sermon, Trenton Cannon. We'll see how that San Francisco backfield shakes out. Just keep streaming that RB2 spot until CMC's back, and then you're set up for success down the stretch with Mixon and CMC.
Also, everyone joining us that's throwing those questions, and don't worry, we plan on getting to every single question, even if we got to go rapid fire at the end of this thing. We'll be hanging out here for a while, so we're getting there, but we're just moving down the list here. This one will be quick. Don Juan, we just hit on Rondale. If D-Hop's out, Rondale is a smash must start. Even with D-Hop in, I think he's a flex option in some deeper leagues. A good one here from the end, and we just hit on this too. How do I trade an injured CMC and Chuba? The answer to that is you don't. If you have Chuba especially, just sit tight, start Chuba for a few weeks. You're not going to get the CMC production, but you're going to be really happy you didn't panic trade those guys when CMC comes back. All right, Steph, I want you to grade this trade from Uzi. He traded Tyson Williams and Devontae Smith for A.J. Brown in standard.
Absolute smash. A.J. Brown is also an extra stud in standard leagues because of the nature of his production. So, yeah, you won that trade easy. Easy.
Another one, a tight end question here from Matt. Gronk or Higbee? Do you think Gronk can sustain what he's been doing?
I don't think Gronk can. It's funny, both of these tight ends are against each other in that Rams-Bucks game. I'm so hyped.
I'm going Gronk. Like, I'm going Gronk for this game and rest of season, though. No, I don't think he's going to sustain what he's doing, but he's almost like walked into a tier of his own. There's the big six, there's Kelsey, Waller, Hawkinson, Kittle, even Pitts and Andrews, I think are a clear top six. But Gronk, to me, might be that number 7. I'll take him over a Goddard right now. I'll take him over Higbee. Fant is in the discussion, but Gronk, to me, has more touchdown upside than anyone else in the league. And if you're kind of streaming tight end, you have a lesser tight end option. You're hoping for the TD. So I absolutely love Gronk. So I'll take him over Higbee.
Yeah, man. With Higbee, it's like he's back to kind of what he was with that 1.8 point game against the Colts. We may find that this team doesn't need to pepper the tight end as much as we think they should or will with Higbee, even though we both believe in the talent of Higbee.
So, Steph, we did talk a little bit about Zeke and Pollard on this week's pod. Bailey has a question about Pollard and flex consideration. Full PPR, Deontay Johnson if he's active, or Tony Pollard in the flex. This one's actually really interesting with the Cowboys playing Philly on Monday night. He also does have the fantasy team name of the Matrix. Respect. Steph, I was talking last week. I just finished the Matrix trilogy, so this nice. Bailey Sylvester with the profile pick hits a little different for me.
Yeah, so Deontay Johnson has that matchup against Cincinnati, which should be pretty good. Pollard, though, in Philly, I also think has a great matchup. Man, this is tough. Alex, you go first on this one. Curious to hear what you say.
If Deontay is healthy, I'm playing him. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to roll Deontay out there if he's not healthy enough to play. I mean, they're playing Cincinnati. I know it's a division game, but with Claypool, Juju, and even James Washington, who might be the best number 4 receiver in the NFL, I don't think they're going to need to play Deontay if he's not right. So to me, if he's playing and if Big Ben is playing, I'm going to play Deontay for the volume. He's the target leader on this team every time he's healthy. But if he's out, you're going to have the luxury of saying, okay, I have Tony Pollard as an easy pivot option who should have some upside on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that was a hesitation for me, was that Steelers situation. We might be getting into Mason Rudolph season.
Oh, no. Haskins. I'd rather have Haskins, but it would probably be Rudolph with the first shot there. Okay, we have another start question in non-PPR.
Oh, this is a great problem to have.
Yeah, Ridley, Lockett, A.J. Brown. I mean, man, Lockett's a smash. Steph, Lockett. I know you are all in on that game this week between Seattle and, Minnesota. It's going to be an absolute shootout. So Lockett's in there. And let's see, who does Atlanta play? Atlanta plays the Giants, and A.J. Brown and the Titans play the Colts. I'm probably going in non-PPR, Lockett and A.J. Brown.
100%. I'm with you. Ridley, actually, dude, I don't know. The A.J. Brown in that game script, Tennessee could put the Colts without Carson Wentz away quick. I'd actually pivot. To me, I'd go Lockett Ridley, but there's no right or wrong answer in this one. It's pick your poison. This is a great roster build to have where you got to make this decision.
All right. Don Juan, we did hit on this one too. Would we trade CMC or just keep him? Just hang on to CMC. No reason to panic. He might only miss a couple weeks. You're going to be kicking yourself if you trade him and then he comes back super, super healthy. Adam Salama with the Bears logo here. Got to be hyped for Justin Fields this week. Should we be worried about Dalvin Cook? I'm not worried about him. Even if he misses this game, I think he'll be back next week. It sounds like he is really iffy. So if he's out, to me, that's just like, okay, they're resting him. They're getting him right, and he can bounce back next week. And the follow-up question here is, should he start Dalvin, Fournette, Gaskin, or Madison? If Dalvin's in, you're obviously starting him. But, Steph, I'm interested to see your take. We've hit on Madison already if Cook is out. Fournette and Gaskin are interesting options in PPR. Fournette playing the Rams, Gaskin playing the Raiders. Who would you go with there if Dalvin sits?
Yeah, let me see who Miami's up against. The fact that Tua's out.
They play Vegas.
Also hurts. And Vegas, I mean, it's actually looking pretty good right now. I would go with Fournette and then whoever plays between Dalvin and Madison. And long term, I think Dalvin will be fine. It sounds like if this was a playoff game, he's probably playing this week. At least that's kind of how it's sounding. He got on the field today. He did practice, though I think it was limited. Dalvin and CMC, but they'll be back and they'll be fine.
All right, we got one from Clap Nuts. Expecting Boyd to have a really good game with Higgins out. Do you trade high if he does? I think so. If you're deep at wide receiver and you have a sell high opportunity on Boyd, I think that would be the right time to do it. They do have a tougher matchup against Pittsburgh. But yeah, if Boyd has a good game, I think, he's just one of those wide receiver 2 type of guys that can be flexed. You can play him in a pinch. He's going to have his boom games, but to me, he's just a dime a dozen. So if you have depth and you can package him to get better somewhere else, that's the easy call for me. But Steph, let's move on to Daniel Cortez. Another start sit question. Pick 2, Woods, Pittman, Marvin Jones, and Kenny G. You've already been hyping up Marvin. What do you think about these other options compared to him this week?
Marvin, absolutely a smash play. Robert Woods, I think, is a smash play and what should be high flying. If the Bucs secondary focuses on Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods could see his nuclear game that Cooper Kupp just saw. So those are the 2 easy picks for me. They're the 2 better players on better teams. Kenny Galladay's banged up, hasn't really done much since he's been in New York. Pittman, I like him, but you're relying on Jacob Eason to get it done. Just go with the set it and forget it options of MJJ and Bobby Trees.
Next, we got a super important question. Corona, Modelo, or Pacifico? I'm going with the Corona here. I love a good Corona, especially on vacation. Modelo hits right with a nice burrito or something like that, but I'm going to stick with the Rona.
Pacifico is a great sleeper option, but it's not my go-to. I'm definitely going Corona at the 101 if we're talking about these 3.
Yeah, Pacifico is equivalent to like your Tannehill in the 12th round, where the Corona is Mahomes in round 3. Values aside, I'm taking the Corona, but yeah, you're right about the sleeper call. All right, a 2 QB league. Russell Wilson as the 1 for BX Superman. Pretty good with Russell Wilson as the 1 there. Matt Ryan or Taylor Heineke, which welcome to week 3, 2021, when we're asking this question. Matt Ryan plays the Giants, who have actually been okay as a whole. I know they're 0-2, but they've been competitive in games. Defense has been kind of hit or miss. Heineke, let's see. Who does Washington play this week?
Buffalo.
Oh, okay. I'm probably going to stick with Matt Ryan there.
Yeah, I am as well.
Bossy. We'll see how much I butchered that. Did the Panthers defense live up to expectations? So get this. I'm going against the Panthers defense in Steph and I's home league, and I was absolutely terrified going into the game. They only put up 10 points in our league scoring. Going against them, I'm like, sweet. They only got 10 points. I'll take it. And I texted my buddy who I'm playing against, and he was pretty satisfied with 10 points. So I think they were, as expected, they played great. They only allowed 9 points in this game. Didn't make the big turnovers. Houston protected Davis Mills a lot, but they did lose J.C. Horn in this game. So if you picked him up, you're probably dropping him back to the waiver wire. I think they have Dallas next week as well. So it's time to move on from Carolina, but they were fine last night.
DJ Moore, he's back.
DJ Moore is back. Steph, how do you feel about Higbee? Bailey's going to package him in a stud receiver for George Kittle. Define stud receiver. That's big.
Yeah, Bailey, give us that receiver name. This is tough. I mean, people are just going to you're essentially telling somebody, hey, change your tight end from George Kittle every week to essentially a streamer. They're probably going to want another option outside of Higbee. You can't just set Higbee as your only tight end in your roster. You're probably cycling through a few spots on your bench, looking at tight ends. You're streaming week to week. So you're going to have to give him a pretty good receiver who's probably coming off some good games that you don't want to move. I'm thinking of a guy like Amari Cooper. It's like you don't want to do that to go out and get Kittle, who's underperforming, and who knows when that ship's going to turn around. I hate Kyle Shanahan. I'll just say it. I don't care. Kyle, I'm ready to go at it. Come get me.
And the questions are still rolling in. So everyone that's joining, everyone asking questions, we're going to get there. We're going to keep this train rolling. Also, every few minutes, I try to plug the Discord because that's where we can answer these questions all week long. If you wake up, if you're up at night trying to figure out who to start in your flex spot, like I'm probably asleep. Steph stays up late. I'm probably asleep at like 9 o'clock, but just throw it in the Discord and one of us is going to get to it. We got an amazing community in there. I know a lot of y'all hanging out here are from the Discord. So if you're not in there, you got to get in there. It's totally free and it's in the link below. So check that out. But Daniel Cortez asks, Matthew S. or Justin H. This took me a second. I thought this was like a second grade class roster for a minute. But it's Matt Stafford or Justin Herbert. Stafford plays Tampa. Herbert and the Chargers. Who do they play? They play Kansas City. So two
That's
potential
Herbert.
shootout games.
Both of them.
I don't know, man. Like the Chiefs D has been okay, especially against the pass. There will be volume in that game though. And the Bucks D has not shut down the passing game. I mean, Dak lit him up in week 1. Matt Ryan actually had some garbage time in week 2 and was able to move the ball against this Bucks secondary. The Bucks secondary had a couple injuries as well. Teams, when they play against Tampa, have been totally abandoning the run game. Darrell Henderson is banged up. I wouldn't be surprised if Stafford finally just let it rip. I mean, against the Bears in week 1, great game, but the volume was throttled back because they dominated. Even in week 2 against Indy, it was a pretty balanced game. If Stafford unleashes for 40, 50 attempts, I think he could have an absolute explosion week. So I would go Stafford. Steph, you're Justin Herbert, though?
I think I am, but dude, that was a great take. I might have to switch over to Stafford. The
It's a tough
over-under
one.
is just what I'm chasing.
Two great options, though, Daniel. 2 great options this week. Just flip a
Hey,
coin
trade
or
one of those
something.
guys, honestly. Trade one because I think you can get a good haul back.
One from Uzi, who's a huge RB2 buy low target. Well, this is a perfect opportunity to check the latest pod we just dropped. We talked about 6 different buy low running backs. Zeke's on there. Miles Sanders is a good one that's on there. Saquon's
Gibson.
on there. So, yeah, check that out.
Gibson and Fournette. Go get you some Fournette.
Speaking of Matt Stafford, Baki is starting Daniel Jones over Stafford. I would say I'm not calling it impossible that he has a better game than Stafford. Especially with the Steph your face, especially with the wheels. But I would start Stafford. I would 100% be starting Stafford. You benched him and regretted not starting him. Look, that's going to happen. You have like Heineke probably outperformed a lot of good players from a fantasy perspective last week. You got to go with your studs. And in the matchup, I'm going Matt Stafford here 10 times out of 10. I do like Danny Dimes this week though as a streamer. But if you have Stafford, that's kind of an every week lock for me.
Exactly. Honestly, dude, if you're feeling this way, sell Matt Stafford and just stream or start Danny Dimes because it seems like you have a feel for streaming the QB position. Danny Dimes would probably be a stream of the week for both of us if we did our QB start sits, and 100%. He does have a great matchup, and he's actually looking a lot better this year. Surprisingly, that it hasn't really come from Kenny Galladay ascending. It hasn't come from Kadarius Toney being that stud that we all wanted him to be. Danny Dimes is finding a way to ball out. And a lot of it is that rushing 9 rushes last game.
I think this one should be quick. Jack asks us, who does Mason Rudolph benefit out of the Steelers trio? The answer is no one.
Najee.
Maybe not even Najee, but we'll keep it moving. Christian, what is good? Thoughts on trying to trade Chuba and Jamar Chase for Calvin Ridley to the McCaffrey owner? If you have running backs and you have Chuba and you're not going to be starting Chuba over the next couple of weeks, I think that's the perfect kind of trade to make.
Yeah, love it.
Corey Davis or Rondell Moore PPR. What do you got, Steph?
So I've already talked about this Jacksonville game a lot. I like all of the weapons on both sides of the ball with Arizona going up against the Jags. Who is, let's see, Corey Davis.
This is easy for me. I'm not starting anyone on the Jets. Yeah, I'm not starting anyone on the Jets until further notice. No matter. And
yeah, they're playing Denver. Definitely fade Davis. Fade Corey Davis this week. Don't even start him.
All right, Matt, this is a good question. We've had a lot of CMC talk today, and we've talked about don't trade CMC, but there might be people that don't have him that want to take advantage. Who could you offer for CMC if they're going to panic sell looking for a running back? That is a good question. I think you look at that RB2 range. You look at a guy like a Chase Edmonds, maybe a Josh Jacobs. He's been hurt, though. But I think that range of like a Myles Gaskin or a Chase Edmonds plus, maybe you package two guys and try to buy low on CMC, you do it. Honestly, if you even get into like the Miles Sanders tier, I'd be willing to trade Miles Sanders straight up for CMC right now. And that's something someone could bite on. I know it's a little bit risky and your running back depth could be a little bit shot, but if you've started out hot and you want upside for the back half of your season, like that might be the kind of move that ascends your team to the top of the league, because we're not playing for second or third. We're playing for first place. Just know there's risk involved. Like we think McCaffrey's going to miss a couple weeks, but if it ends up lingering, if it ends up being more, you could burn yourself. But I'm willing to try to buy CMC right now.
Yeah, other names in that range that I'd like to pair with like a flex wide receiver.
Chris Carson's a good one.
It's like Chris Carson down. So there's like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, David Montgomery. I think it's in this range. Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, even though people probably don't want Jacobs. Pollard has some hype behind him. Kareem Hunt is consistently putting up numbers. So try that range.
All right. Unruly Drip picked up Madison. Wide receivers are stacked. Oh yeah, I would flex those stacked wide receivers over Madison for the time being. This one's a good one for you, Steph. Thoughts on Curtis Samuel coming back from injury? I know he was one of your guys all off season, and things for Washington have just been so derailed. Like Fitzmagic going down, but Heineke's looked okay. I mean, one start, but he's looked okay. But if Curtis Samuel comes back from that injury, if he's sitting on someone's waiver wire, are you still interested or are you going to fade?
Well, looks like Curtis Samuel should be practicing again next week. So I think, 3 weeks or more on the roster. To me, it's going to come down to the usage, right? Part of the hype for Curtis Samuel for me was that there would be some air under the passes in Washington with Ryan Fitzmagic there. I think Curtis Samuel has a lot more to show in his skill set down the field, not just as a gadget player. And he has the best of both worlds when it comes to what he can do. But I'm really curious to see what his role is. If the role is bad, but the production is good, I'm actually willing to sell on Curtis Samuel, because if he does remain a gadget guy, if he's close to the line of scrimmage, that's the only way he's getting used. That makes me a lot less excited. If he relegates Adam Humphries and he's playing the number 2 from the slot rest of season, I like that a lot more. I always said the Rivera Curtis Samuel connection was a good thing, right? He knows how to use Curtis Samuel, and to a degree, that's right. But he could use him in a way that we don't want him to use him, that would actually help the team, but not help us in fantasy. So I'm holding.
And the thing is, hold, and if he's on your waiver wire and you have a deep bench or a deep league, just stash him. Just wait and see.
Put him in your IR.
Yeah, he's worth the stash right now. Another one from SS Austin. Are we worried about Calvin Ridley? I want to get your take on this one as well, Steph, because you just traded Calvin Ridley in our home league for essentially straight up for Ezekiel Elliott. Josh Allen and Dak Prescott were involved in the deal as well, but you just sold. So I know you're concerned about Ridley. And to me, I'll just hit on my take really quickly. I'm not going to go in depth. I think Ridley's going to be fine, but I think you have to lower your expectations. But Steph, what do you got on Calvin?
Yeah, could still easily be a top 5 wide receiver this year. And I knew I was letting that go when I did sell him. Part of the reason to go and buy Zeke, I'm not even expecting Zeke to be a top 5 running back, but in that particular build, I had Adams, I have Amari Cooper. I needed a running back 1, and so I figured I would buy Zeke low and really sell Ridley for what I expected him to be. Obviously, the other team I traded with also expects good things for Ridley. I think we all think Ridley is in a great situation. The question just around the offense, it's around Matt Ryan. That team could go into tank mode quick. I could even see them, and this might not happen to the offseason, but just go ahead, full rebuild, sell Matt Ryan, and just start this rebuild around Ridley Pitts, start building up the offensive line again. So some of that concerns, like where it's low-key tank mode for the Falcons, could concern me for Ridley. But one of the things I said in my MVP take on Ridley for this season and why I drafted him, he's in a funneled situation. He's in a situation that we need a wide receiver to be in if he is going to have that top 5 fantasy season. We saw that from Stephon Diggs last year. We see that every single year from Devontae Adams. We've seen that historically with DeAndre Hopkins, these funneled situations. Allen Robinson, another guy. These are just consistent producers because they're the main weapon there and no one's really challenging them. Ridley has that to the highest degree possible in the NFL. So I think he's still a stud. I'm not really that worried, but you're going to see some empty calorie targets, and that's what I mentioned in our MVP take. So to your point, hedge a little bit on those expectations.
So, Steph, we're going to move on to another question from Adam. Before we do, though, I see everyone rolling in. I'm going to take another minute to just say, if you're just joining us, keep dropping those questions. Like, we're going to get to it. We're catching up a little bit, I think. But, man, keep those questions coming. This is a blast for Steph and I to just talk through these live with you all. And also join the Discord in the link below. I'm looking at it here. And since we started recording, every live stream we do, we typically get a couple new members. We welcome them with open arms. It's an absolute blast. We haven't had a single person join the Discord since we started. And I know all 24 people watching right now are not in the Discord. So calling you out, hit it up in the link below. It's absolutely free to join. It's a blast. It's where you can chat with Steph and I and the whole community and talk fantasy. So get in there. But Steph, let's talk about Amari Cooper and Marvin Jones. Cooper is questionable. He came out and said he's optimistic about Monday night. Hopefully we get some more information before Sunday. But if Cooper's active, he's an auto start for me. What do you think?
Yeah, and you might be in a tough spot because you may not know on Cooper.
Get a backup option if you go with Cooper.
Get Cedric Wilson off the waiver wire. Just put him on the end of your bench. If Cooper's out, at least you have a contingency plan. That way you're not stuck starting Dalton Schultz or whoever else is remaining on the waiver wire. Also,
shout out to Tanner in the Discord now. Let's go. That's what we like to see. Welcome to the squad. Chris Diaz, Woods or Debo? This one, I read this and I'm thinking, oh, of course, Robert Woods, like automatic. He's an auto start every week. But Debo's been so hot, and they play the Green Bay Packers this week. There should be some volume in that game. This one's tough for me. I'm going to go Robert Woods. I'm going to go with the floor. I think he's a much safer play. But I see a world where Debo comes out and has another really big game. I'd go Woods. Steph, I'm interested to hear your take on this one.
I'm going Debo. I think you have to, just based off the games.
Ride the hot hand.
That he's putting up. And yes, Jai Alexander is scary, but this is a high over-under game. The San Francisco secondary has no one of note that you should be worried about. I think this game will shoot out. I'm smashing the over on this.
We will keep it rolling. A lot of QB questions here. Danny Dimes, hot topic of conversation. Ryan Tannehill or Daniel Jones? Danny Dimes does play Atlanta. So, like, if you're streaming quarterback, he is the perfect name. And this is a question we're going to get a lot because Tannehill has underwhelmed, where Daniel Jones has been fantastic. Tannehill playing the Colts. Steph, I think I might go with Daniel Jones here.
Danny Dimes is playing Atlanta, which is why, for me, I would go Danny Dimes. Let Tannehill get right. I think they will shoot out, but honestly, this could be another Derrick Henry game against the Colts. Tannehill's against the Colts, Danny Dimes against the Falcons. Tannehill may not need to do that much for the Colts to win this game with no Carson Wentz.
Let me give you some advice, Unruly Drip. If you do end up going Danny Dimes, don't watch the Giants-Falcons game. Just check how many points he got after it's over. Clap nuts. Okay, let's see. Who should he start at the flex? Also, clap nuts. Thanks for chilling with us, man. Been in here. Feels like every single live stream. So, Ayuk, Jacoby Myers, or Gaskin. I'll tell you, don't start Ayuk. I am with you that at some point there's going to be that week where he crosses like the line of production and he's finally worth starting in your lineup. But I'm going to wait until he does it before I throw him out there. So for me, this is really between Jacoby Myers and Gaskin. If you start Ayuk and he goes for like 2 points again, you're going to be so pissed off at yourself. Gaskin, I think, has a floor if it's a PPR league against Vegas, but I'm not super excited. And then Mac Jones plays New Orleans, whose defense has been okay. So if this were me, I'm probably going to go Gaskin just for a little bit of safety because Ayuk and Myers are volatile, in my opinion.
Go Gaskin and just pray that this is the Ayuk week. And that way you're not kicking it yourself. You know, to Alex's point, on the flip side, it's like, if he does have a good week, great. Nothing to be sad about. Now you know you can start him going forward because he's back doing what we expect Ayuk to do. So put him on your bench and pray. Plug in Gaskin, hope for the best. Hope he gets the touchdown. Gaskin's by far the best running back in Miami right now.
Yep. Unruly Drip with another question. Joe Mixon or Tyson Williams? It's Mixon for me. I like Tyson this week, but you go with your workhorse. It's Joe Mixon. No questions asked.
TJ Watt's hurt. Should help Mixon against Cincinnati or against Pittsburgh.
All right, with these longer ones, I try to process here, so give me a second. Okay, Christian What's good? Thoughts on trading Terry, Julio, Debo, and Fournette? So this is a mega trade for Tyreek and Chuba before the CMC injury. Well, I'll tell you this. I wouldn't have done that trade. I would have probably held on to Terry, Julio, Debo, and Fournette. That's a lot of value to be giving up. You were able to scoop Tyreek, which is awesome. It does sound like you have depth. So the CMC injury might work out in your favor. Maybe you take Chuba if you do have that depth and go try to get those pieces back and claw back some of that value that you lost. But I probably would have taken the players, but there's a lot of context that goes into this stuff like league size, how many starters do you have, things like that. But if you want the upside, if you want that stack, like Tyreek and Mahomes can win you any given week. So always nice to have.
If there's a high point payout or if it's an 18-team league, I love it.
All right, Steph. We've had a lot of Higbee talk here. Deontay and Higbee for Kittle. I'd take Kittle. If you can pull that off, you might be. I mean, if the Kittle owner is disappointed, I mean, Higbee hasn't been fantastic either, but Deontay has. So if he plays this week and you're able to swing that, I would absolutely do it.
Assuming this is like a 12-team PPR league and you can fill that flex with waiver names. Let's say Deontay is your 2, right? You're getting rid of him. You move your flex up to the 2, and then you can fill in off the waivers, off your bench, whatever. Yeah, go out and get Kittle. I think you can buy him low right now. I still don't think it's going to be that low, though. People are smart. They're expecting him to bounce back. All
right, James Laundry, what is up? Trade question for us. Najee and Mike Evans for Jonathan Taylor and T. Higgins. I'll just tell you this. In Steph and I's home league, which I know we bring up a lot, but it's a deep one. 14 teams, super sweaty. Everyone in there is really good. I have Najee and Mike Evans, and if someone offered me Jonathan Taylor and T. Higgins, I would have rejected it before it even hit my inbox. So, in my opinion, I just like Najee more than JT if it's a PPR league, especially for rest of season as a workhorse. And then I like Mike Evans more than T. Higgins for the rest of the season. So it's pretty simple for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
It's probably closer. It's closer than I'm making it out to be, but it's a pretty easy choice for me.
Yep.
All right. We got a flex question. Baki, I think I've said that different every single time I've said it. He has Debo, but is wondering if you put, I'm guessing that's Rondale Moore, Waddle, or Osborne. It's Debo.
Yep.
I like Osborne. I'm still not willing to put him in lineups, though. I want to see a little bit more and see if Minnesota keeps using those 3 wide receiver sets before I feel comfortable. But another week or two, and I'm probably willing to throw him in there.
Osborne is like the epitome of a DFS name. Play him everywhere in DFS this week.
A good matchup as well, high over under there. But Matthew 0702, was that Harambe? Should he trade? Should he trade Najee and AJ Brown for Zeke? I would say no. Absolutely not.
No. Keep Najee and AJB.
Tanner, finally got to your question. Thanks for joining the Discord, by the way. We'll be hanging out with you in there, I'm sure, a lot. But currently 2-0. Asks if he should trade for Hurts and Devontae, Tannehill and Chris Carson for Hurts and Edmonds. Okay, is this a normal English question? Tannehill, Carson for Hurts. Oh, it's 2 separate trades. Okay.
Yeah,
Tannehill and Chris Carson for Jalen Hurts.
And then Edmonds and wait, there's like 4 ants.
The longest run-on sentence I've ever seen. Circle back, Tanner. Circle back. We'll be back to this in a minute. We'll keep moving on. Tanner, just clarify on that and we'll hit it. Ubel, trade Gibson for DJ Moore if you're stacked at running back, sure.
Depends on how
stacked. Yeah, exactly. Because in a nutshell, I would prefer Gibson, but if you're stacked and need a receiver, like it's fine. Joe Lee, Mike Davis, or James Robinson in PPR this week. Spicy. I'm going to let you start because I don't really know. I got to think about it.
Yeah, this is a tough one. So Mike Davis against the Giants. Kind of like that matchup. Cordero Patterson kind of bothers me.
Mike Davis still got the volume last week. If you look at what happened, let's see. I want to pull up his volume because that's what he is at this point. It's a volume play. 9 carries and 7 targets last week. If you get that again this week, he'll be fine. James Robinson plays Arizona. Another game that could be a shootout, but
yeah, The problem with J-Rob right now, and I'm even going to spot check this as I'm saying it just to make sure, but they're not checking down to the running back enough in these losing game scripts to where J-Rob is someone that you can rely on yet. He hasn't even had double-digit fantasy points, and he saw 6 targets in week 1 where they got absolutely blown out, 6 targets in week 3, finally saw 11 carries, which I believe was more than Carlos Hyde. So J-Rob, I think, is going to get ramped up.
I'm probably still going Davis here.
I'm going Davis for this week, but J-Rob long-term, I think things are going to get better for him, But Mike Davis this week, no doubt.
For sure. All right, we got one from Jack. Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill full PPR. Asking about a trade. I would prefer Tyreek Hill to Devontae Adams, but, I mean, pick your poison. Do you want the explosive upside? I mean, both have explosive upside, so it's a push for me. I would just hold on to who you've got, honestly. But if it were me, I think I'd give it to Hill by a hair. But even if I had Adams, I'd probably just go ahead and keep him.
Yeah, it's Tyreek for me.
Mr. T, thanks for the question. Full PPR flex, CEH, Sony, McKissick, Mitchell, or Murray. So you got some options. I'm going to go ahead and nix Latavius Murray off of this list. I'm going to nix Sony Michel if Henderson's active. I'm going to nix Mitchell. It doesn't look like he's going to play. And if he does, I still have my questions on how much he'll play with Shanahan, Steph's best friend. To me, it's CEH. I mean, you go with the guy who's going to get the most guaranteed volume of the group.
Yep, it's CEH. And right now, there's the extra stink on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If you looked at his DraftKings value, it's ridiculously low to the point where I probably have him in most of my lineups now. And if CEH doesn't have that fumble, I don't think we're looking at him quite as bad.
Mm-hmm.
That really sunk his day. So you got to start Clyde. RB1 for the Chiefs. You got to start him, even if he's in RB2.
Dylan Horn, what is good? Steph, you're good at these, so I'm gonna pivot this one to you. Looking for trade targets. He wants to get rid of Tyson, Fournette, Hollywood. So some decent flex RB2 type of options. Looking for a consistent wide receiver 2, maybe an every week guy you can lock in without having to make these start-sit decisions. What kind of guys should he be looking for in a trade like that? I'll start thinking of some names as well, but do you have anything off the top of your head? I think maybe like maybe a tier above Mike Williams. I was going to say Mike Williams. He's looking very interesting, but he might actually be pretty tough to grab right now because he's been off to such a hot start. Yeah,
I'd be down to go get like one of the Bucs receivers. Go get a
maybe a Cortland Sutton.
Sutton, and maybe get like a depth running back as well. I'm looking, somewhere in that Godwin Evans range. I would say T. Higgins if he wasn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Deebo Samuel's interesting. You're not going to be able to get like Terry McLaurin. Maybe get a Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Honestly, based on how things are going right now, Chase is the one by like week 4 over T. Higgins.
Absolutely. David, what's good? Another trade question. Y'all are savages with these trades. Like y'all are trading first round picks on the regular. Would we trade Aaron Jones and Mark Andrews for Monty and Kelsey? I would rather have Kelsey here. What do you think? I mean, Aaron Jones.
I can't sell Aaron Jones right now.
This is tough.
It's 50-50 split. It's a push, David. Go with your heart.
Go with your heart. But that's confirmation. Like, you can't kick yourself if you make the wrong choice because it's that tough. It's that tough. All right, let's keep moving on here. Let's see. All right, this is a good one from Jalord. I can't pronounce this. Jalord Palolo. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What do you guys think about Saquon's start? I'm not disappointed. This is, we didn't expect it to be this bad. But we didn't even know if he was going to be playing in the first 2 games. So, like, I'm not too surprised. And I think this is a get-right game for him in the running back start-sits we put out. He was the start of the week. I'm starting him in a dynasty league. Like, if you've bought low on him, I think it's going to pay off. He got a really good snap share last week. The touches started to increase, had some explosive plays. I think this is the Saquon week. So, if you have a chance to snag him, go get him. And if you've got him, don't think about benching him.
Yeah, Jalord. This is, I mean, the only difference between me and Alex's thoughts on Saquon is that he thinks Saquon's going to go off this week. I'm more in the week 5 to 7 range. We both believe he's going to be back to his old ways, maybe not quite to that ceiling that we once saw with Danny Dimes now doing what he's doing, and that O-line still being god-awful, but we both think Saquon's going to get back and deliver on that first or second round pick.
Another one from Jalord. Sutton, or I'm guessing this is Miles Sanders for the flex. Sanders plays Dallas on Monday night. Cortland Sutton and Denver play. Who do they play? The Jets. I'm probably going Miles Sanders here. He's going to get touches in a game against Dallas. I think he'll get some receiving work as well. I like Sutton this week, but I'm probably going to go Sanders because I think there is a higher floor. But I do love Cortland Sutton. He had a great game last week. I'm just afraid that if he doesn't get it early, they could absolutely steamroll the Jets, and it could be kind of what we saw from New England last week, just not a lot of pass volume in the second half.
This one's like dead even to me. I don't think there's a true wrong answer, but I'm probably going Sanders. Let's just hope that Kenny Gainwell doesn't take that touchdown again.
We're getting back into the important stuff from Bailey. He asks our go-to mixed drink. I'll tell you this. Steph and I are both what you can call some bourbon boys. We're from Kentucky. We're big time on that bourbon hype train. So I know for me, anything with bourbon is great. I'll just have it nice and easy on the rocks. But give me a bourbon Coke. That's a classic. Steph, I mean, I'm guessing your sentiment's more the same.
Yeah, I will say recently I did go to Jamaica, and I have a new respect for rum. I think if you look anything with like rum and banana, so there's something called a dirty banana. Look that up, Bailey. Dirty banana.
Don't Google it.
Well, don't Google images. Just, put mixed drink behind it when you type in on the search bar. Go with something like, if you want the tropical vibe. Otherwise, yeah, do a old fashioned.
Oh heck
That's
yeah!
a great
Give me an old
bourbon mixed
fashioned all
drink.
day,
dude. You have the right old fashioned. It goes down like Kool-Aid.
It's second to none. But let's get back into some fantasy takes. Cole, start one. What's up, Cole? Pittman, Devontae Smith, Henderson, or Elijah Mitchell? I'm going Smitty. I know it's a little controversial after what happened last week, but with Mitchell and Henderson being banged up, with Pittman having Carson Wentz banged up, I'm going Smitty against Dallas. I'm chasing that matchup.
Yep, me too.
All right, Andrew. Why do y'all have to have such hard names to pronounce? Good. Andrew K asks, thanks for joining us, Andrew. If you can get some phonetics in the chat, I'd appreciate that. Was offered Fant for Herbert. He has Aaron Rodgers, also Kittle at tight end. Should you do it? I mean, if you have Aaron Rodgers and George Kittle, you're probably not starting Fant or Herbert. But to me, I think it just depends on your league. I'm trying to think like Fant or Herbert. Steph, to you, which one has the better chance of breaking out a little bit and being able to flip for someone else down the line? To me, it's probably Justin Herbert for some name value with Jerry Jeudy coming back as well. But it's a toss-up. I'd probably rather, in a normal league, if it was a deep league, a competitive league, I would take the tight end depth.
I would rather just sell one of the two, probably Kittle for help at another position. If you have somebody who still believes in Kittle, go get you a Jamar Chase for your flex and enjoy the ride.
We got LaVisca on waiver wires. What is happening? Would we drop Waddle or Singletary in order to pick him up? None of these players should be on the wire, but I love LaVisca. Yeah, Steph and I love LaVisca. He was one of my fantasy MVPs coming into the season. I know he hasn't popped off yet. I'm still hopeful, though, as T-Law continues to improve. They have a higher over-under matchup this week. I'm not expecting a ton from Chenault this week dealing with the injury. I would keep him on my bench until I see a little bit more for now. But yeah, I would be willing to drop either of those guys for LaVisca, especially with Tua now set to miss some time. But I'm probably dropping Singletary if I was you.
I'd lean Waddle. There's no right or wrong answer.
J Bear Blink Henderson update, last minute running backs to pick up. Was there a Henderson update, or do we have a Henderson update? I haven't heard anything. If y'all have heard something, let me know.
McVay said the Rams will, quote, be smart today with Henderson. Expect Henderson to be a game time decision.
Well, you need some
also confirmation that Amari Cooper is healthy and good to go for Monday night.
Is he playing? Get out of here.
Says he'll be good to go for Monday Night Football.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, y'all are done in our league. Y'all are done. Adams, Cooper, y'all are done.
All right. Last minute running back pickup just depends who's there. Jay Bear, circle back in the chat and just drop in a couple of those waiver wire name options at running back, maybe a couple guys on your bench as well, and we'll try to help figure out who you should throw in there. All right. Tanner, finally circle back to Tanner. Not quite a run-on sentence this time, so we should be able to get a good answer. Tannehill and Chris Carson for Hurts and Edmonds. Ooh, this is tricky. If this is a PPR league, I'm just going on gut here. I think it's a pretty fair trade. I understand the trade. I get it. If this is a PPR league, I'm going Hurts and Edmonds. I've liked what I've seen from Edmonds so far this season. I like the PPR floor he offers you. I like the upside from Jalen Hurts. I know Steph loves Jalen Hurts, but I'm going with that side. I'm going with that side on this trade.
I would say before you make this deal, see if Justin Fields is on your waiver wire.
True.
Or see if you can just go get him real quick on the low. If somebody's nervous about his matchup this week against the Browns, just see real quick because you may not have to make that deal. If Fields is already on a roster, yeah, I don't mind it at all. Hurts is one of my MVPs of this year. And even if you don't like Jalen Hurts, at this point, he's starting all season. So when he plays, he's been productive fantasy-wise. You're putting him out there.
Tanner did say it was PPR, by the way. So, yeah, I don't mind the Hurts-Edmonds side. Jay Modi, what's good? He has Lamar as QB, Tyson Williams as running back. Should he start Hollywood or Rondale Moore as a flex? I mean, Steph, you can speak to this a little bit. Again, we have plenty of examples to pull from our home league, but Steph's team, he has Dak, Amari Cooper, and Ezekiel Elliott. So, he's rolling them out there with confidence every time they have good matchups. And those guys are such studs. They're every week starts anyway. In this situation, I'm fine against the Lions if you had Lamar, Tyson, Marquise Brown to roll them out there in the same week in a great matchup. So I would probably lean Hollywood over Rondale. I like Rondale a ton this week. If Hopkins misses that game, I would play Rondale more for sure. But with what we've seen from Marquise Brown, I think he's a pretty safe start.
Yeah, the only way that I'm fading the Ravens triple stack, because in a way, it's great. We know the Ravens are going to put up points. The three main ways they do that is through either Lamar Jackson himself, Lamar Jackson throwing to Hollywood Brown, or Lamar Jackson handing it off to Tyson Williams. The only way I am putting Rondale Moore in there is if I already know I have this week in the bag. Let's say my opponent had Christian McCaffrey and he was the best piece on their roster and he had that down game. And it's okay, I'll go Rondale Moore for the safe option because Hollywood Brown could bust. They may not need to use him if they're just scorching the Lions on the ground. That's the only risk you're taking with Hollywood Brown, but they're both in the same kind of flex tier to me. Marquise Brown has been great so far this year, and he was a guy that we were totally sleeping on in drafts. He wasn't even picked up in a lot of these redraft leagues, and now he's entering that flex range. So I'm okay going with the Ravens stack. That's going to maximize your upside in the best way it possibly can. Rondale Moore is the safe option for you just to mix it up.
This one should be pretty easy from Tanner. Deontay and Marvin Jones for Devontae Smith? No.
Nope. Not yet.
Oh, I'll kick this one to you, Bailey.
With the Keanu. He's trying to read us right now. He's trying to get us plugged in. I am also newly married this year in 2021. Got married back in April.
Heck yeah.
Are you asking for a friend, Bailey?
Our wives. I mean, we do have people calling you sexy Steph in the chat. So what can I say? But yeah, our wives are nice enough to let us keep doing this and talk about football all the time. A lot of mornings.
Yeah, I think my wife's more into fantasy than I am.
Same. I was going to say, I think my wife might be a bigger football fan than me. My days start out with I got Elijah Mitchell on the waiver wire. Did you? And I'm like, no, I didn't. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Keep rolling.
My wife's also a Steelers fan and I'm a Browns fan. So it makes Sundays just way more fun, even though it might get a little spicy, but that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
I love making fun of Big Ben.
It gets intense in the Lott household, but we are behind on questions. Let's try to roll through some of these. Lamar is QB. Wait, I just asked, what am I doing? Same question from Jay. Same
Raven
answer.
Raven stack.
All right, Daniel Collins. Higgins and AB out Sunday. Javonte, Chark, or Waddle. Flex, full PPR. I'm going,
Javonte against the
It's
Jets.
not Waddle. It's not Waddle.
Javonte coming out party.
I'm going
Javonte coming
Javonte.
out party. Could happen. I would go Chark, but it's fine.
I'd go Javonte. It's a little safer. Jack, Juju, or Pittman full PPR. If Wentz is in, I'll go Pittman. Otherwise, I'm probably going to have to go Juju there. I can't trust Michael Pittman without Carson Wentz.
I need Juju on this one.
Trade Saquon for Gronk. No.
Don't do that. Saquon is going to come back.
Saquon. Yeah, we're helping them out. See, this is what the Discord's like. People helping people. We got a good community in there. Join that Discord link. Also, if you're hanging out and you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe. We're doing all sorts of live streams all season long. We have a ton of good content coming out. Start sits, awesome, narratives and podcasts from Stef and I. So subscribe to the channel. We're not going anywhere. We're trying to win some championships this year for the DMS community. Let's get it. Cole Beasley or Laviska Shenault, half PPR from our boy Luke.
Buffalo against the Washington football team.
Give me Visca here.
Could actually be a pretty defensive game, way more than we expect. Laviska is the option.
Laviska. All right. What do we think of trading T and Damian Harris for DK Metcalf? Yeah, give me Metcalf there if you can pull that one off.
Yeah, I love Harris, but if you can get DK, do it.
Quick one from David. Are we trading for CEH anywhere? We have to temper our expectations for what he's going to be, but he still is a buy low in a lot of spots. Check out the podcast we dropped earlier this week on buy low running backs. There's timestamps on there. There's a really good clip on CEH. Check that one out. But yeah, we're willing to trade for him. You just have to understand he might not be that RB1 upside that you thought. And big pun, Pappy Van Winkle Bourbon. Look, we're not made of money. But yeah, that's all-time classic.
Big pun. Look up Angels Envy. That's the stuff that we're on.
Angels Envy, Eagle Rare, a couple good ones. All right, some Trey Sermon hype.
Let's go.
From Roman, still has Trey Sermon as RB4. Should you keep as a possible future RB or drop for Hubbard? If this is your only choice to drop for Chuba, you go get Chuba, in my opinion.
Yeah, you get Chuba. If you don't get Chuba, it's not the end of the world. Just keep Sermon there unless there's a clear, better option.
But having said that, that segues us into the next question from Big Pun. Is Sermon still a stash? And I think he is. I think he still is a stash. So if you have a deeper league, deeper bench, if you can hold on to him and pick up Chuba, I think he's a stash for sure, especially if he gets an opportunity this week. And I think Ayuk is definitely worth a pickup. Give it some time, but he's worth a pickup.
Sermon practiced in a limited fashion Wednesday and Thursday, remains in the concussion protocol. If he ends up playing this week, I'm not starting him, but he's definitely a guy I'm keeping an eye on. Even if the box score isn't there for him, I just want to see his volume. I want to see his snaps. If he's last man standing, I like Sermon as a player. I just hate Kyle Shanahan. I hate Kyle Shanahan.
Steph, we got to jump up to Alex Kim here. First of all, appreciate you, Alex. Terry McLaurin for Antonio Gibson. This one is hard for me because I think production-wise, we're obviously seeing more from TMC. But in these fantasy leagues, especially deeper leagues, we know running backs and stud running backs are more valuable than receivers. Steph, what's your take on this one? I got to think about this. I think I would lean TMC for the potential upside, the funneled volume. Antonio Gibson does not look like he is going to get the workhorse role with J.D. McKissic active. So I'm going to lean McLaurin here, but I still do like buying low on Gibson.
I'm with you on that. Alex, if you want to post your roster somewhere in the Discord channel, I'd be more than happy to break it down for you in depth because I think this really is a roster-dependent move. It's like a horizontal move, but I think if you're just looking for fantasy points, I think it has to be McLaurin. The only two things that could stop McLaurin as far as I could see, and there's a lot of things I think that could stop Gibson. For McLaurin, it's either Curtis Samuel somehow taking away a massive enough target share that McLaurin takes a step down, or just health. And that could be the same situation for Gibson, who's already shown up questionable at least once.
All right, we will keep rolling. Shout out to Andrew. He subbed,
Thanks,
even
Andrew.
though I butchered his pronunciation of his name. I don't think I even tried this one, so appreciate you, Andrew. Jack, Damian Harris or Mike Davis, full PPR. Mike Davis, we talked about him as a potential volume play this week against the Giants. So I do like Davis in a PPR league, especially if he can continue to get those targets. The Pats do play the Saints this week. Decent matchup for Harris. Wouldn't say it's great. Saints are one of those teams that's hard to project right now. I'm probably going to lean Mike Davis here because Harris to me is kind of touchdown or bust at this point. We've liked the volume. He got the touchdown last week, but in a matchup against New Orleans, that's not an absolute cakewalk. I'm going to lean with Davis.
Yeah, I'm leaning Davis too. Season long, though, I go Harris.
I agree for sure. All right, Cameron. Thanks for hanging out, Cameron. Start Jamar versus Devontae at flex. So the battle of the rookies here for the flex spot. Also, Gaskin, Mitchell, or CEH at RB2, PPR. So Jamar Chase could get some more funneled volume with T. Higgins out, but they do play Pittsburgh, where Devontae Smith has the cash matchup against Dallas. We'll start there. That one's tough for me. I'm leaning Jamar Chase, though, just for the volume that we know he's going to get in a passing offense.
Yeah, that's the volume. It could be a Jalen Hurts game where he's just not. And look, Trayvon Diggs in Dallas could shut Devonta Smith down.
True.
He is a rookie going up against a stud corner that's really balled out to start the year against Mike Evans and then Keenan Allen. Whew. If he's shutting down Mike Evans and Keenan Allen, he's shutting down Devonta Smith. I like Jamar Chase a lot season long, and I like him more this week.
Steph, we got to jump up again to our boy Charlie. Another tough one.
Charlie.
This is deep. This is deep. Hardman, AJ Green, or Emmanuel Sanders, full PPR. These are the sweaty decisions that can make or break you. I know we've talked a lot of smack about Mecole Hardman, but when you're comparing him to AJ Green or Emmanuel Sanders, it definitely gets more interesting. Steph, what's your take here? I know what my pick would be. I'm probably leaning Emmanuel Sanders. He's been more involved than the production would say so far this season. But what's your take? I think AJ Green gets interesting if Hopkins is out, but just off the top of my head, Sanders would be my pick.
Yeah, Sanders is 100% the pick for me. You never know when it's going to be a Mecole Hardman game. By the way, Charlie,
Hardman and Green are both touchdown or bust, to be honest.
Yep, Emmanuel Sanders. Let me check out his air yards real quick. So he's 12th in the league right now in air yards. So 117 air yards per game. He just hasn't come down with some of those balls yet. 32% air yard share, 13th in the league in average target distance, 4 deep targets across 2 weeks. The target value is there for Emmanuel Sanders, where I don't believe it's there for the guys, but that volume isn't the same of what Sanders is going to get. They're all getting downfield receptions that could lead to touchdowns. I actually think Emmanuel Sanders is just as likely to get a touchdown in this game if Washington decides to bracket off Stephon Diggs. So I'm going Emmanuel Sanders. And Charlie, I love this question. Love the deep questions here. This is probably the deepest one we've got today as far as the players on this roster. Alex and I, we have the knowledge. We can go deep. Push us to our limits.
I love deep leagues. I would rather answer questions like this than answer AJ Brown or DK Metcalf, because like stuff like this, you can dig into the air yards. You can really peel back the layers to get the story. And I think it's going to happen for Sanders. Fingers crossed it's this week. Where with AJ Brown and DK, it's like they're both great. They're both studs. Like one of them could go off. They both could go off.
Yeah, you start looking at matchup and stuff like that for those guys.
And interesting question here from Tanner. What site do we use to look up air yards?
Well, I know you can go to airyards.com. Something that Alex and I will always plug is a huge resource for us, playerprofiler.com. That's what I was looking at here for Emmanuel Sanders to see some of his numbers. Go check that out, man. It's one of the best, if not the best, by far analytics football website that's out there.
Steph, we got to go rapid fire here. I'm going to try to roll us through these questions because we're falling behind. Everyone's hanging out. Like, this is an absolute blast. Also, if you're hanging out, hit that like, subscribe. Helps the channel out a ton. But Steph, let's try to rapid fire, catch up a little bit on some of these questions. I want to find out where we left off. Here we go. All right. PPR, CEH, Marvin Jones, Tyson, or Darrell Henderson. This is Marvin Jones for me.
MJJ season, baby.
And from Neil Bradley, half PPR, James White or Mike Davis in the flex. I think these are both plays where you're hoping for that pass volume, and Davis's volume is more guaranteed. So I'm going to go Mike Davis. What's your take?
Mike Davis for sure.
From Youngberg, Zeke or Harris? I'm guessing this is Najee Harris. If it's Damian Harris, it's definitely Zeke. If it's Najee Harris, I'm probably going to lean this is hard. I'd probably lean Zeke against Philly.
I think I'd go Najee. I think the volume's a little bit more secure, but you're splitting hairs.
Yep.
So I'm going Najee. He's going Zeke.
Q Barca, what is good or Barca? I don't know. I'm going to get roasted for my pronunciation on this live stream, but James Robinson or Tyler Boyd at flex, not PPR. In a non-PPR, I mean, Tyler Boyd should get more volume if T. Higgins truly does miss the game. He's doubtful, but I'm probably going to lean J-Rob there just because Boyd's fantasy value typically comes from that reception value and not even getting a half point for reception. I could see 7 catches for 70 yards being the outcome for Boyd in this game, and that doesn't really get it done. So I'm going to lean J-Rob, but not feeling great about either option, to be honest. Tough matchup for Boyd as well.
I think I'm putting in J-Rob on this one. I'm hoping for the yardage to be there. Carlos Hyde only had 2 carries last week. Did see 2 targets, but we've seen James Robinson with a 6-target game. I think the yards from scrimmage will be there for J-Rob. You're just hoping for the touchdown. You're hoping for the touchdown with Boyd too. So go with the higher over-under game that J-Rob is in. Hopefully a lot of garbage time for the Jags.
Another deep one. This is what we love from Christopher Rangel. Bryan Edwards or Quintez Cephas. So Cephas plays Baltimore. Bryan Edwards and the Raiders play Miami. Cephas has been involved. I mean, he scored a touchdown in each game. I want to say off the top of my head, I'll vet this. He's had 7 targets from Jared Goff in each of their games so far this season. So he's going to continue to operate as that number 1 target at the wide receiver spot for Detroit, where Bryan Edwards, you got Ruggs involved. You have obviously Waller super involved. They're playing a tough Miami defense that might struggle to score points with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. So I'm going to lean Cephas because I think he's going to get a couple more targets this week against Baltimore.
I think I'm leaning Cephas too. I think season long though.
Season long, Bryan Edwards for sure.
I think I'm going Edwards season long.
Absolutely.
But for this week, go Cephas. Hope for the best.
All right. From Christian, do we think stashing Jeff Wilson is a good idea? When he comes back, he could be the starter, and he's sitting in the IR spot. I love it. Take another free shot at a San Francisco running back. I don't think you roll him into your starting lineup right away, but if it's free to stash in your IR, he's going to be involved when he comes back. So that's a pro move.
Hey, one thing I just saw out of the corner of my eye, we were talking about Quintez Cephas. Some things never change. The Lions are still number 1 in the league in pass attempts.
The Lions, Steph, I've been rising on the Lions a lot for their fantasy output this season. They have the makings of, especially for Hawkinson and now maybe Cephas and for the running backs, they have the makings of a high volume, high production fantasy offense because you have a terrible defense. You have a pretty solid offensive line. And then you have a competent quarterback in Jared Goff, and you don't have a ton of weapons. So the volume is going to be funneled through what they have. So for Hawkinson, Swift, Cephas, or whoever that wide receiver 1 is, I think it's better than people are expecting for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Hawkinson is on pace to do some pretty crazy things. He could set the record for most targets by a tight end in this season.
Yes, Steph, when this is over, we're going to have to talk about that dynasty trade offer I sent you for Hawkinson again. But from Kenny, should he trade Gaskin for Chase Edmonds full PPR? I would. I'd rather have Edmonds. It's a more elite offense. Edmonds has actually gotten more work so far this season, so I'm leaning Edmonds there.
Edmonds.
From Connor LaRose, what's good, Connor? Thanks for hanging out with us. Pick 1 full PPR. Mike Williams, Darrell Henderson, Gaskin, Damian Harris, Will Fuller.
It's Mike Will. Mike Will made it. He's been balling out, man. 22 points the last 3 games he's played going back to last year. He's putting up numbers, and he's against Kansas City.
Yes, ride the hot hand in Mike Williams. We got a trade coming in. Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, Tony Pollard, Cole Beasley, Sammy Watkins for Stephon Diggs and Devin Singletary. Yeah, give me the Diggs side. You can only start so many players in your lineup each week. Give me the stud.
Yeah, I think I'm going the same direction, though I do like Javonte and Pollard, but none of the guys give you the same fantasy output as Diggs should on the year.
Trade question from Brian. Would we trade Mahomes and Hunt for Najee and Scary Terry? Very roster dependent question. In a vacuum, just from a value perspective on, most of the leagues that I play in, I would take the Najee and Scary Terry side there. I can figure it out at quarterback.
Yep, me too. 100%. You got to get a haul for Mahomes. Najee and Terry McLaurin is a haul because Kareem Hunt's the worst of the names that are on this list fantasy-wise. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think this is exactly the type of value that you're looking for on Mahomes. What up, Barca? What up, Q Barca? Let's get it.
He did clarify it's pronounced Barca, so thank you for giving me some help there. T. Higgins out. Start Boyd over Claypool with Big Ben potentially out. Yeah,
I love this question.
I know I just talked about not being excited about Boyd in a standard league, but if it's half PPR, full PPR, I'm feeling pretty confident about Boyd. I would start him over Claypool if it's a half or a full PPR league with the question marks on the Steelers side of the ball. Steph, what do you think?
Yep, I think I'm with you on that. Until we see consistent downfield QB play, and Deontay Johnson, I think he's doubtful, probably not going to play. Maybe if we see some pops from Claypool, he then becomes a lot more interesting. But for right now, the volume's there in Cincinnati. Higgins is already confirmed out. So if we're looking at just like, okay, one of the receivers that's taking up a lot of volume is missing time, I think the volume is going to be there more likely for Cincinnati than it will be for Pittsburgh with that stout defense.
Another one from Kenny. Should he trade Kamara and Kelsey? Kamara for Kelsey and someone else, like a Mike Davis. 10-man PPR current tight end is Logan Thomas. I would. I would want somebody other than Mike Davis. Yeah, someone other than Mike Davis. If you can get a tier-up running back, especially in a PPR, a Chase Edmonds type of name, it all depends on who they have on their roster, but yeah, I'd be willing to do that. I love Kamara, but in those 10-team leagues, that tight end spot and having an elite tight end can be so important. So I'd be willing to make that trade. I'd be willing to. I love Kamara. I think he does bounce back. So I would just be careful to not sell low because his value is not where it's going to be in a couple weeks right now. James, what's good? He got offered Gibson and Michael Pittman for Brandin Cooks. Take the Gibson side.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Gibson here. It's Gibson here. I think this is a perfect, it almost fell into your lap because you got offered it. But I mean, this is a buy low on Gibson right now. This shows you how low some owners are on Gibson to the point that they're going out and getting just guys that are putting up production right now. I don't think Brandin Cooks' production is sustainable. He can't have a 50% target share. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's not sustainable for any period of time unless we're literally going to see Brandin Cooks in 2021 break wide receiver records. It could happen, but whether teams start figuring out the Texans and bracketing Brandin Cooks off, injury because he's got to get like a lot of hits on his body if he's going to be targeted that much and bring those receptions in. We already saw him get a little bit banged up yesterday. So, yeah, get Gibson.
Jeremy, what up? Jeremy sounds desperate here, so I'm glad we're going to be able to help him out.
We got you, Jeremy.
Someone, please. I've been needing this answer. With both DeAndre Hopkins and Deontay Johnson injured, who should he start, Rondale or Juju? Well, I will say, take it up to the wire with DeAndre Hopkins. Fingers crossed that he can play this week. Deontay, I'm less optimistic about. So if Hopkins is playing, that's your answer. But if both of these guys are out and you do have to choose between Rondale and Juju, it's Rondale more for me pretty easily. There's concerns with Pittsburgh in the offense right now. If Deontay is out, hypothetically, Juju could be more involved, but I want that explosive big play upside Alex, that Kyler's going to bring. What's up?
Breaking news just now. Deontay Johnson confirmed out against the Bengals.
Okay. So Deontay's out. I'm still hopeful for DeAndre Hopkins, but yeah, it's Rondale for me. And hopefully you're only having to start Rondale if DeAndre is out and it's an easy switch. Now, if he has Hopkins and he has to start Rondale or Juju, would that potentially change your mind, Steph? Would you go Hopkins and Rondale together?
It's such a coin flip between Rondale and Juju, I think. But I will say with Deontay now officially out,
exactly.
Juju actually becomes more appealing because Rondale Moore still has, it could be a Christian Kirk game. It could be an AJ Green game. It could be a Hopkins game. It could be an Edmonds game. With Juju, it's either going to be,
I agree.
And look, Juju is the most QB proof. Like Chase Claypool, we have a lot more concerns about because of the quarterback play. We think Chase Claypool is a far better player than Juju right now. But with the QB play, how it's trending, the short yardage passing game, Juju, whether it's Mason Rudolph, whether it is Big Ben, whether it's Dwayne Haskins, Juju, I think will be like the high floor play that he has been, whereas Rondale Moore is a little bit more volatile. So with Deontay out, go Juju.
All right. What do we think about Kenny Golladay? Play, bench, or drop? Don't drop him. They have Atlanta this week. If there was a week to play him, I think you can roll him out there this week.
Yeah,
it's a desperation.
It's a desperation flex option. I'm benching him, just seeing if he can kind of get it together. You remember last year we were kind of out on these wide receivers that changed teams. And then because Diggs balled out, Robbie Anderson balled out, a few of these other names that had switched teams were really, really good. Brandin Cooks. We just assumed, actually that's over, right? Every receiver that goes to a new team is just as good. We're not seeing that with Golladay as of right now. Could be a Danny Dimes thing. Could be a Giants offensive line thing. Who knows? But I'm benching him.
I'll leave this one to you, Steph, because I know you're the Miles Sanders guy. Think Cook will play this week. If not, Miles Sanders or Melgo the third to replace him full PPR. I do think Cook is going to play, but I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an injury expert, so we'll wait and see. Hasn't been practicing. But Steph, if not, Miles Sanders or Melvin.
If not, it's definitely Miles Sanders against Dallas.
Yep.
Love the matchup.
Agreed.
Love the point total. The thing, Dalvin Cook, this might be one of those weeks where they just keep him limited, or he's kind of like a decoy, and it's going to be like a 50-50 split, and Madison's going to do the bulk of the work. I could just see that kind of coming from the way that things are going and how much they need Dalvin Cook rest of season if they kind of limit his usage.
Steph, I'm going to let you take this one. Also, we've been rolling, hour and 15 minutes. I got like 10-ish minutes left, and then I got to bounce, but we're going to try to roll through all these questions. Steph, Devontae Smith, Zach Pascal, or KJ Osborne, or Christian Kirk, or Nyheim Hines needs a flex and a wide receiver, or a tight end, or a wide receiver too. So it sounds like he needs 3 from this group. Sorry for butchering that question, but 3 guys out of this crew. While you're answering that, I got to get my computer charger because we've been rolling for a while and my computer's about to die. So I'll be back.
Yeah, on this one, of these 3, I'll just rank them. That way you know whether you got to start 3 of them. From your question, it might be 2, but it's definitely Devonta Smith in there. Just hope that Diggs, the cornerback from Dallas, doesn't shut him down. But Smitty is the only true number 1 I see in this roster. After that, Zach Pascal, I think, is interesting. And then honestly, man, like Christian Kirk, it's a dart throw. Nyheim Hines is a dart throw. KJ Osborne, it's a dart throw. I'm actually going to go KJ Osborne here. It might be a hot take to some people, but I think of the 3, he's going to be the most positive game script. Minnesota has been in 2 big shootouts so far. They're probably going to get into a third here against Seattle, which is another shootout happy team. So I'm going to go KJ Osborne and go from there.
All right, so we're going to circle back to Alex Kim. He's the one that had the question about TMC for Gibson. Here's his roster. He's got Russell Wilson, Zeke, Javonte, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Pitts, Terry, Laviska, Smith, Pollard, Singletary, Bell, David Johnson. So let's see. At the running back spot, he's got Zeke and Javonte. At wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson. McLaurin is his flex right now. I'm probably taking Gibson here, and I'm plugging him into that RB2 spot because I think you can figure it out with your flex between guys like Devonte, Laviska, even Pollard is interesting. So I would take the Gibson side if I had that roster.
Yep, 100%. Thanks, Alex. And I see you in the Discord too, Alex. Appreciate it.
Let's go. Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith over Antonio Gibson at the flex week 3. I'm sticking with Gibson here, but I do like Chase and Smith this week.
I'm going Gibson. I think this is the get right game. I think this is the get right game against Buffalo. High scoring. Buffalo defense is scary, but just as easily Pittsburgh could shut down Jamar Chase or Trayvon Diggs could shut down Devonta Smith. So all of them have kind of like things in their matchups you don't like. Go with the running back who's most in line for volume.
All right, Michael Brantley. Should he trade Claypool to get James Robinson, currently as Henry and CEH as RB1 and 2? I'd take J-Rob there.
Yeah, for the roster build, obviously you're trying to find a second option to CEH. I'll move Claypool. Claypool's really just a flex name, wide receiver 3. You can find those all the time. They're probably going to be some on the waiver wires that break out. I mean, Travis Fulgham last year. You can find guys to start in these stretches.
All right, from Mike Farley, start sit question, Kareem Hunt or Jamar Chase, or cross fingers and play Amari Cooper Monday night. It's Cooper. Yeah, don't get mad at us if he doesn't play, but it looks like he is at this point, and that's the pick for me, for sure.
Yep.
All right, does Darnell Mooney's season start this week with Justin Fields getting the start against your Brownies, Steph.
Yeah,
I think it does.
I think it does. The target volume has been there.
I've been trying to pick him up in some leagues, and I can't. People are too smart in my leagues, but if you can, I'd get him.
Everything's there for Mooney already. The targets, the snap share, the air yards. He just needs to come down with a few of these receptions, hopefully in the end zone where a lot of them have been. Yeah, I think Darnell Mooney's season starts. It's already kind of started.
All right, we got a great question from Lucius. Should he give up on CEH? Also, opinion on Javonte Williams. Here's my CEH take. Steph and I actually talked about this on our pod from this week. CEH's disappointment. Is he a buy low candidate? I think we have to lower our expectations for CEH. He might not be this potential top 5 guy, but he's still a startable running back 2 for your roster. So if you're going to give up on CEH, honestly, now is not the time to do it. His value is at an absolute floor, an absolute basement. I don't think it's going to go down much further from here. So I would wait, try to see if he can have a better game or two. And if he does, maybe you try to move on from him then for more value if you're just sick of it. So I wouldn't give up on him. I think you keep playing him in your lineup if you don't have better options. And then Javonte Williams, someone that should get ramped up as the season goes along. He has been splitting pretty much 50-50 with Melvin Gordon. So I think the upside for him might only be like a 60-40, 65-35 split. I don't think he's going to take this backfield and Melgo is going to be on the bench, but I like Javonte. I also think he could have a good game this week against the Jets.
Yeah, Javonte is like a name like DeAndre Swift last year, if you remember. Now, DeAndre Swift had a little bit of PPR value, but in standard for Swift, he didn't really become anything that you wanted to touch in fantasy because he just was getting ramped up in the offense. Same thing for Javonte Williams. I had Javonte and Travis Etienne as these week 8 through 17 or 18 names that you would have as essentially as your RB3. So keep Javonte Williams on the bench. And even in some leagues, go out and try to buy him. I've been trying to buy him, but it's kind of like the people who drafted him know what he could potentially be in the future. If Melvin Gordon goes down, his value is going to double overnight, and he's going to be a high-end RB2, I believe, if the Denver Broncos offense continues to look as good as they have. Javonte's only had 1 target per game over the last 2 games. So that's where I would like to see him, get ramped up a little bit more. It seems like Melgo is going to be the high value touch option. It's really turning into like a Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones situation with Javonte playing the Ronald Jones role. Granted, I think Javonte will, like you said, increase that snap share, increase that usage. 1 point on CEH. Lucius, we really appreciate the $2 there. Anything helps keep the show moving forward. One of the things that Alex said on his CEH take on our most recent episode, go check that out if you haven't. We talked about a ton of buy low running backs. It's like CEH right now is having a dip in his value, and you hear the term buy the dip. It's kind of like, hey, CEH is dipped, and he's probably just going to stay where he's dipped. I will say though, I think there is an overreaction, and that may be why you're saying, why should I give up on CEH? The answer to that is no. Don't give up on him. Just temper your expectations with him. And if he doesn't have that fumble that kills that game, a tight race on Sunday Night Football that everyone was watching, extremely hype matchup, an instant classic that we saw in Baltimore, seeing CEH fumble on that last drive just left a bad taste in people's mouths. If he doesn't have that fumble, you're not as down on him as you are. And you're like, oh, well, just a down game. We've seen down games from a lot of good running backs already. So don't give up on CEH.
All right, let's roll through a couple more of these. Most valuable handcuffs: A.J. Dillon, Tony Jones, or Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, Tony Pollard, Tony Pollard. Dillon would be my second choice there. Adrian, Juju or Robinson? I'm guessing this is Allen Robinson. It's A-Rob all day.
Yep. Thanks, Adrian.
T. Chris 0123, CD or Amari? I'll actually lean CD here just because Amari. I mean, they're neck and neck on any given week. Rest of season, I'm going Amari Cooper, but if it's for this week, I'll go CeeDee Lamb just because Cooper is dealing with the bruised ribs.
Me too. I think you can start both, though, if you have to.
Sure. Adrian, Melgo or Singletary as RB2? What do you think, Steph?
It's Melgo against the Jets. Just take the good matchup. Hope that the Jets can keep it competitive, and if they don't, well, hopefully it's more volume on the ground for Melgo. Singletary had that big run. None of us believe in the talent of Singletary. As far as his skill set, he's looked better. Like, if we see a few more games, I might start to buy in, but not ready to do that, especially against a stacked front seven in the Washington football team for Buffalo.
All right, pick 2 and a flex. AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Robert Woods, OBJ, Jamar Chase, and Dooney, who must be Mooney's evil twin brother. It's AJ Brown and Tyreek are locks, and I'm probably going to go Robert Woods there. I think AJ Brown and Tyreek Hill give you plenty of upside. So with that flex spot, just give me the floor of Robert Woods. I expect the volume to go up this week.
There's a running back room that you can build a whole roster around and redraft. I love it. Go Robert Woods this week and then play the matchups with OBJ, Chase, and Dooney.
Dooney. All right, Steph, last question for today's stream from Keanu. Thoughts on Jonathan Taylor? Buy, sell, hold.
Buy if you can.
Buy if you can. Buy. If you have him, hold him. I think he's a buy low. We arguably could have talked about him on our buy low show this week. I don't think he's in the same conversation right now as some of the other guys we talked about, the Saquons, the CEH. But if he has even if he has a bad game this week without Wentz, like I think he's going to continue to be a buy. So yeah, I'm willing to buy, willing to hold.
Yep, I'm with you on that. He doesn't need a huge snap share to be productive. He was doing what he did last year where he had this monster breakout rookie season with like average percentage being in like the 48% to 68% type range. Like he doesn't need to get 100%. Granted, he saw 50% last week, but that was in a really tough game, kind of a weird game. Marlon Mack was trotting out there. They were just trying to see what they had in him. Still saw 15 carries and a target. Better days are ahead for JT.
All right, so that is going to do it. Hour and 26 minutes. I mean,
let's go.
We gave you everything we had. We've got a good week 3 ahead. I mean, great matchups on the slate. Thank you to everyone for coming in, hanging out, chatting with us. If you have more questions, if we somehow missed your question, like join that Discord, pop it in there. Steph and I are going to get to it and answer. You're also going to get a ton of feedback from a community that keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger the more members we get in that Discord link. As always, like, subscribe, helps the channel a ton.
Appreciate
Thank
you
so much for hanging out. Let's get some dubs this week, and we will see you next time. Peace.